Alrighty, we are live. We are live. This is so bright lately. I don't understand why. Oh well, we're live though. Very exciting. Very exciting. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you're coming in, please say hello in the chat. Let me know if you are perhaps here for the first time. Would love to know that. Would love to know if you're joining us for the first time. As you're coming in, say hello in the chat. We're going to get started in just a minute. But as always, I want to give everyone a couple minutes to come in. I know we're getting started a little bit later today, but I'm starting to experiment with different times of the day, seeing how that might affect how many of you are able to make it into the chat. But as you're coming in, please say hello in the chat. Let me know if you're here for the first time. And then I would love to hear what's your favorite book that you've read in a while? If you're a reader, I know not everyone is a reader. I don't read nearly as much as I wish I did. But if you do read, if you're out there and you're a reader, what is the best book you have read in a while? Would love to hear from you. Brianna Lynch says The Outsiders. That was my all-time favorite book as a kid. I loved S.E. Hinton. Loved it. So good. Nicole Marie says Unexpected by Christine Kane. Sky Tyler says The Giver. That's a good one. That book was ahead of its time, okay? The Giver was ahead of its time. The Giver was like The Hunger Games and Divergent before those even existed. Quip says Of Mice and Men. That's a good one as well. It's a good one as well. Isaiah Gonzalez, I don't like reading. Totally get you. Totally get it. Makes sense. Let's see. Ella says To Kill a Mockingbird, a classic for sure. Jameson, welcome from Australia. So glad you made it. Caleb says Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I never read those. I heard they're really good though. Heard they're real good. You guys, I don't know why in these last couple like live streams, my face, I'm like so bright. Yeah, I don't know why it has made me so bright. Maybe because I'm wearing dark clothing? I don't know. Would this help if that helps a little bit actually. Maybe I'll keep something white in the frame and then it will help. Ooh, maybe I'm learning things as we go along. Yeah, see how that just changed? Wow. What if I wore these around my neck? Hold on. Take these off. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out while everyone's making their way in. I'm just going to throw these on, see if that makes a difference. That helps a little bit. All right, everyone, welcome to Q&J Today. This is the show where I hop on to answer your questions. So as we're getting started, start throwing some questions over in the chat. I'm going to start responding to those in just a minute. So start throwing those over there. These can be questions on anything you want to talk about today. As always, I do not promise to have all the answers, but I do promise to be as honest as I possibly can. So again, as we're getting started, start throwing questions over in the chat. But I do want to let you know that today's show, as with every show, we are brought to you by the Super Chat. The Super Chat is a really great way for you to guarantee that your question gets answered today. I will answer every question that comes in with a Super Chat, but also every dollar given in the Super Chat goes directly towards helping this channel and this ministry grow and continue to reach more people. It helps me to continue to do shows like this, put up videos like the sermon that I put up earlier. I got another video coming on Friday that'll hopefully encourage you all. And so if you are able to give it even $1 in the Super Chat today, that would mean so much to me. All you have to do is click the little dollar symbol that's located just under where you type something into the chat. Again, $1, $2, $10, however you are able, it would mean so much to me. Now that that's all out of the way, let's do it, people. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Let's answer some questions. All right, our first question today comes from Kyle Barber. Kyle says, can you lose your salvation? So there are a lot of different opinions on this. I actually have a video on this that I made many years ago that I actually still think stands up. So I highly recommend that you go and you watch that video. I just think it's such a nuanced conversation. Like, I actually don't think that is like a yes or no question. And again, there's people who would like totally disagree with me. I just think there's like a much more nuanced conversation to be had surrounding this can I lose my salvation sort of debate. I actually think it's a really bad question to ask because again, like salvation is this wonderful free gift of freedom and grace and forgiveness that we receive through Jesus. But that is just one of many reasons why I believe in Jesus. I think so many times we boil down the Christian faith that all it is getting saved so that we don't go to hell and that we go to heaven someday. And I actually think that is just one portion of the incredible life that Jesus actually invites us into when we enter into a saving relationship with him. And so I think I don't know, I think that question comes from this place, this fear of, oh gosh, I'm on the right side of the line. Is there anything that I can possibly do to maybe jump back onto the other side of the line? And so what I would say is, if you're even asking that question, if you even have that fear, then the answer is probably no. Like, the Bible is very clear that for those who are in Christ, there is nothing, neither height nor depth nor anything in this world that could separate you from the love of God, that could separate you in the saving relationship that you have with Jesus. And so I think if you're even asking that question, then you can stop worrying, and you can stop asking that question and start asking, how has Jesus called me to live? How has Jesus called me to walk and talk and love in this world? I think that's such a much more worthwhile question that is going to actually lead you into the life that Jesus saved you to live. So that's what I'll say. Let's see. Deborah Perry Vlogs asks, hey John, what is right and what's wrong? Are you asking me like what's going well in my life and what is wrong in my life? Or are you saying objectively, like, what does it mean for something to be right and what does it mean for something to be wrong? What's really interesting, actually, I'm going to tackle the second half of it. What's really interesting, actually, is I just sort of talked about this a little bit in our church's middle school ministry last weekend. I was teaching on the passage in John, I believe it's chapter 14, where Jesus refers to himself as the way, the truth, and the life. And I was in a portion of the sermon where I was talking specifically about Jesus referring to himself as the truth, and how we live in a world today that sort of wants to define truth, wants to define good and evil, right and wrong for itself, and that good and evil is just sort of, or right and wrong is just sort of whatever I feel. If I feel that it's right, then it's okay, as long as it's not hurting anyone else. And I was talking about how, while that sounds really nice for me to have my own version, my own choice of what is right and wrong for me, while that sounds really nice, if truth is just whatever I feel, and then your truth is whatever you feel, and her truth is whatever she feels, then actually truth ceases to exist at all, because it's just whatever you feel. Then it just ceases to exist. If it's everything and it could be anything, then it's also kind of nothing at the same time. And so I love the idea that part of Jesus saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life, Jesus is challenging us to make him our truth, meaning Jesus is the truth that I measure everything else against. He is the North Star. He is the one, and his way is what I point to when I have to make decisions in terms of what's right and what is wrong, what is good in this world and what is evil. Jesus is the truth, meaning he is my truth that I measure everything else against. All right, Caden, my good friend. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Caden Marshall, welcome, Caden. The idea of going out and evangelizing people just out on the street always made me uncomfortable. I know it's probably such a good thing, but I also hear from people saying it's a bad idea. Thoughts? Absolutely. So, yeah, this is something that is obviously wildly popular. This idea of just sort of like walking out on the street and just preaching to people or preaching the good news of Jesus. But also at the same time, like you said, Caden, it's also a practice that makes a lot of people super uncomfortable. I know myself. That is actually not a form of evangelism that I am comfortable with at all. And it's not just about like, because let's be honest, like God did not necessarily call us to a life of comfort, but for me, that is not necessarily where I do my most effective evangelism. In fact, I would argue that there are way more practical ways that you can go out and share the good news with random people than by going out and trying to start up a conversation with a stranger about Jesus. Because for the most part, what you're going to get is people who are not at all interested in talking to you. You're going to get people who will talk to you as a joke to kind of make their friends laugh, or you're just going to end up talking to Christians who already believe it. I think maybe a more practical way of going about it, there's an organization that I just started a partnership with and I'm doing a project with called Promote Grace. And basically what they do is they mobilize their community to go out and to do random acts of kindness for people, pay for someone's lunch, sort of go and pay for someone's gas, going and just giving out flowers randomly to people, buying out a florist and giving out flowers to people for free, just random acts of kindness. And then when you give someone that random act of kindness, what you do is you give them this card and all it says is Promote Grace, and it has their website. And if they want to go to the website, it sort of gives a depiction of what the gospel is and kind of brings them into sort of the theological aspect of it. But really what they're doing in a very practical way is they're just spreading the good news. They are spreading the love of Jesus to their city. I think we all have a form or a view of evangelism that is about this big. We think that all evangelism is going out and talking to people about Jesus and getting people to pray a sinner's prayer, and that's it. But I think evangelism, I gave a sermon about this last summer at church. It's sharing an invitation. It's saying, come and see. Come and see what this life is about. Come and see who this Jesus is. Yeah, so I think, and it's more example than it is explanation. I think it's living as an example of Christ. And so often, what did Jesus do? He went out and he served. He taught a whole lot, absolutely, but he also went out and he just served people. He just served them and loved them. He provided food for them. He healed them. I mean, I think there's so many more ways to preach the gospel than just doing it verbally. There's a classic sort of unattributed Christian quote: preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. I think that's super important. Alrighty, what other questions do we have? Nathan asked, how tall are you, John? I am 6'3", borderline 6'4", I guess. Yeah, that was an easy question. That was like the easiest question I've gotten ever on this show. Let's see one on the Simon asked, does God have a sense of humor? Boy, I certainly hope so. I have to think so. I mean, look at the Bible and look at some of the people that God uses in order to bring himself glory. Like the idea, just think objectively about the story of David and Goliath, this tiny little kid defeating this huge giant, when all of these soldiers who are trained and lethal warriors, they're terrified of this guy. This shepherd boy shows up and kills the dude in one shot. Like, God has to have a sense of humor. Also, I have to imagine, we being made in God's image, there are people, we all have a sense of humor. There's something about laughter. There's something about that sort of form of joy that just brings us so much life. And I believe if we are made in God's image, that must mean God has a sense of humor as well. That's part of God's sort of intricate, beautiful design of the universe and of humanity, is that we have this wonderful ability to make one another laugh and to find joy in each other's stories and in each other's words and in each other's experiences. And I think that's sort of a beautiful thing. It's a cool question, though. I like that. I like it a lot. Kelly Tipton asked, are you rooting for Jon Snow or Daenerys? I am Team Jon Snow all the way. Jon Snow is the rightful ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. However, he doesn't He doesn't want the throne, but I think that's the reason he should have it. You know what I mean? Come on, people. Oh, let's see. Here's a great question. This is from Sky Tyler. What do I do if my friends constantly joke rudely about my religion? This is a great question. So here's sort of what I would say on it. If they are truly your friends, I think this is something that you can bring up to them in sort of a humble way, and just kind of just going, hey guys, I want you to know, like, you don't have to believe the same things I do. You are more than welcome to come to church with me anytime, you know, whatever. But just so you know, when you make those jokes, it really hurts my feelings, because, you know, my faith is something that's really important to me, and this friendship is something that's really important to me. And so I just want to ask, like, if you guys could not kind of make fun of what I believe anymore, that would really mean a lot to me. I think just humbly going to them, because if they truly are your friends, that means even if they disagree with what you believe, even if they think that what you believe is stupid, they love you. Like, if they're good friends, they love you. And that means that they're not going to want to do something that's going to hurt you. And if they're not going to do that, if they're not going to stop making those jokes and they continue to make fun of you for that, then maybe they're not good friends, and maybe you need to find some new friends. That's what I would say. I actually, Miss Sormar says the answer is look for new friends. I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think we should just hop right to that. I actually think there's a conversation. If you value the relationship, then I think it's worthwhile to have a conversation and say, hey, because who knows? That conversation may lead to them stopping making those jokes. And also, it may lead one of those friends to be a little curious. Like, you had the courage to go to us and ask us to stop making fun of your religion. This must mean, I know you might have been joking. I'm not coming down on you for saying that, but I guess I'm trying to make the point of why it is perhaps important to have that conversation, because through it, they're going to begin to see how important your faith really is to you. Like, you're willing to go through the discomfort of an awkward conversation with your friends because your faith is that important. I wonder how that might change the way that they view faith. So, yeah, absolutely. All right, friends. All right. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have for today, because Sweet Bear is going to be getting off the phone soon, and I got to make dinner for us. So thank you very much to everyone who watched. Thank you to everyone who asked questions. I know we tried it a little later in the day. Looked like we had a bit of a smaller crowd, but hopefully it meant that more of you got your questions answered. I know I'm not able to answer all of them. Make sure to listen to or watch the new video on YouTube. It's a full sermon as part of our Forward series that we've been going through. It's also available on the Johncast. If you all aren't subscribed to the Johncast, you can do that on Apple Podcasts. I'm still working on Spotify, people. Please be patient. It's been a long, frustrating journey. But anyway, hoping to see you all tomorrow here on Q&J Today. Thank you again for watching. I love you all. Keep being awesome.